the real price of driving a new car every few years. My name is JJ, and I need to show you something that's going to fundamentally change how you think about cars. I'm going to tell you about the exact moment I watched someone lose $10,000 in under 5 minutes. They didn't get robbed. They didn't make a bad investment. They bought a new car. You know that feeling when you drive off the dealership lot? The smell of new leather, the pristine dashboard, the satisfaction of knowing this machine is yours and yours alone. Nobody else has sat in that driver's seat. Nobody else has touched that steering wheel. In that moment, you feel like you've made it. You've earned this. You deserve this. In that exact same moment, you lost somewhere between 15 and 30% of the money you just spent. Before you even made it home, before you showed your family, before you posted that picture on Instagram with the caption, "New whip who dis." The average new car in America costs $48,000. That number alone should terrify you, but it's not even close to the real cost. When you factor in depreciation, interest on your loan, insurance premiums, maintenance, and the opportunity cost of what that money could have become if you'd invested it instead, that $48,000 car will cost you somewhere between $90,000 and $120,000 over the time you own it. And if you're someone who buys a new car every 3 to 5 years like 40% of Americans do, you're going to lose somewhere between $400,000 and $700,000 over your lifetime. Not on cars plural, on the act of constantly buying new cars instead of driving used ones longer. Today, I'm going to break down the complete financial reality of car ownership that dealerships, manufacturers, and lenders desperately don't want you to understand. I'm going to show you the depreciation curve that destroys wealth, the financing trap that keeps you poor, and the psychological manipulation tactics that make you think spending $50,000 on a depreciating asset is a reasonable decision. Most importantly, I'm going to give you the exact framework for making car decisions that build wealth instead of destroying it. Because here's the truth. Your car might be the single biggest obstacle standing between you and financial independence. The depreciation catastrophe. Let's start with the thing nobody wants to talk about, depreciation. This is where the real money disappears, and it happens faster than most people can comprehend. Here's the depreciation curve for a new car. The moment you drive off the lot, your car loses between 9 and 11% of its value. Immediately. That $48,000 car is now worth $43,000, and you've driven it exactly 3 miles. You just lost $5,000 in the time it takes to drive home. But it gets worse. By the end of year 1, your car has depreciated by 20 to 30%. That $48,000 car is now worth between $33,000 and $38,000. You lost $10,000 to $15,000 in 12 months. No accident, no damage, just time. Year 2. Another 15 to 18%. You're now down to $28,000 to $32,000. Year 3. Another 10 to 15%. You're looking at $24,000 to $28,000. By year 5, that $48,000 car is worth about $24,000. You've lost 50% of your money in 5 years. Let me put that in perspective. If you put $48,000 in an S&P 500 index fund and it lost 50% of its value in 5 years, you would consider that a catastrophic investment failure. You'd be furious. You'd demand answers. But with a car, we just accept it. We call it normal. We call it necessary. And here's what makes it even worse. These depreciation numbers are averages. Luxury cars depreciate faster. BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, these lose 60 to 70% of their value in the first 5 years. That $80,000 luxury sedan you finance because you made it, it's worth $28,000 5 years later. You lost $52,000 for the privilege of having a nicer badge on your hood. Electric vehicles are experiencing even more dramatic depreciation right now. Some EVs are losing 40 to 50% of their value in the first year alone due to rapidly changing technology, federal tax credits that only apply to new purchases, and manufacturers aggressively cutting prices on new models. But here's where it gets interesting. The depreciation curve flattens dramatically after year 5. A 5-year-old car might lose another 15 to 20% over the next 5 years. A 10-year-old car loses maybe 10% over the next 5 years. The older the car, the slower the depreciation. This is the fundamental wealth-building insight. Every year you drive an older, paid-off car instead of buying a new one is a year you're not hemorrhaging money to depreciation. But we don't do that. We trade in. We upgrade. We treat ourselves to a new car every few years, and in doing so, we volunteer to ride the most expensive part of the depreciation curve over and over and over again for our entire lives. The car industry knows this. They've built their entire business model around getting you to trade in before your car is paid off, rolling negative equity into your next loan, and keeping you perpetually on the steep part of the depreciation curve where they extract maximum value from you. The financing trap. Now let's talk about how financing turns a bad decision into a catastrophic one, because most people don't buy cars with cash. They finance them, and the average car loan today is 72 months, 6 years. Some dealers are now offering 84-month loans, 7 years to pay for something that loses half its value in 5. Here's what that looks like in practice. You buy that $48,000 car. You put $5,000 down. You finance $43,000 at 6% interest for 72 months. Your monthly payment is $701. Over 6 years, you'll pay a total of $55,472 for that car. That's $7,472 in interest alone. But remember, the car is depreciating while you're paying. At the end of year 3, you've paid $31,800 total. But your car is only worth about $28,000. You're underwater. You owe more than the car is worth. If you want to trade it in, you have to either come up with the difference in cash or roll that negative equity into your next loan, and most people roll it. So now you're buying your next $48,000 car, but you're actually financing $51,000 because you're carrying $3,000 in negative equity from the last car. Your monthly payment goes up. Your interest charges go up. You get even more underwater, even faster. This is called being upside down on your car loan, and 62% of people who trade in a car with an outstanding loan are in this position. 62%. The majority of people trading in cars owe more than those cars are worth. Here's where it gets truly predatory. Dealers don't talk about the total price of the car. They talk about the monthly payment. We can get you into this car for just $700 a month. Can you afford $700 a month? They're not asking if you can afford the car. They're asking if you can afford the payment, and they'll make that payment work no matter what. They'll extend the loan term. They'll adjust the down payment. They'll roll in negative equity. They'll add gap insurance and extended warranties and paint protection packages, all of it calculated to hit that monthly payment number that sounds manageable to you. This is psychological manipulation at an industrial scale. By focusing on monthly payment instead of total cost, they're exploiting a cognitive bias called payment framing. Your brain evaluates $700 a month very differently than it evaluates $55,000 total. $700 a month feels manageable. $55,000 total feels overwhelming. So they never talk about the total. And here's the kicker. That 72-month loan means you're making payments for 6 years on an asset that's worth half what you paid within 5 years. You're literally paying for something that doesn't exist anymore. The value has evaporated, but the debt remains. The financing trap isn't just expensive. It's designed to keep you trapped in a cycle of perpetual car payments where you never build equity, never get ahead, and always owe money on a depreciating asset. The insurance and maintenance reality. But wait, there's more, because the purchase price and the loan interest are just the beginning. Let's talk about the costs that keep extracting money from you for as long as you own the car. Insurance. The average car insurance premium in America is over $2,000 per year. But here's what people don't realize. The newer and more expensive your car, the higher your insurance. That $48,000 new car might cost you $3,000 per year to insure. That 12-year-old used car might cost you $1,200. Over the 6 years you own that new car, you will pay $18,000 in insurance. That's $18,000 that wouldn't have grown your wealth, wouldn't have earned compound interest, and provided you with exactly zero tangible benefit unless you got in an accident. Maintenance and repairs. New cars come with warranties, which is great. For 3 years or 36,000 miles, you're mostly covered. But what happens in years 4 through 6? You start paying for maintenance out of pocket. Tires, brakes, batteries, timing belts, transmission services. The average cost of vehicle maintenance and repairs is about $1,200 per year once the warranty expires. Over those second 3 years of ownership, that's another $3,600. Registration and fees. Depending on your state, registration fees can be based on the value of your vehicle. A $48,000 car might cost you $500 to $800 per year to register. Over 6 years, that's $3,000 to $5,000. Let's add it up. Purchase price, $48,000. Interest, $7,472. Insurance, $18,000. Maintenance and repairs, $3,600. Registration, $4,000. The total cost of ownership for that $48,000 car over 6 years is $80,872. But we're not done, because there's one more cost that nobody talks about, and it's the most expensive one of all. The opportunity cost. Nobody calculates opportunity cost. This is what that money could have become if you'd made a different choice. This is the wealth you didn't build because you spent the money on a depreciating asset instead. Let's run the numbers. Instead of buying a $48,000 new car, let's say you bought a $15,000 used car that's 5 years old. It's the same model, just older. You pay cash, so no interest. Insurance is cheaper, let's say $1,500 per year instead of $3,000. Maintenance is higher because it's older. Let's say $1,800 per year instead of $600. Registration is cheaper, let's say $200 per year. Over 6 years, your total cost of ownership on the used car is $30,600. Your total cost on the new car was $80,872. The difference is $50,272. Now here's the important part. What if you invested that difference? Not the total, just the difference. $50,272 invested in a simple S&P 500 index fund at an average return of 10% per year, compounded over 30 years, becomes $876,000. Let me say that again. The choice between buying new and buying used on just this one car purchase costs you $876,000 in future wealth, not because you spent it, because you didn't invest it. And remember, most people don't just do this once. They do it every 3 to 5 years for their entire lives. If you buy a new car every 5 years from age 25 to age 65, that's 8 car purchases. 8 times you volunteer to ride the expensive part of the depreciation curve. 8 times you pay interest. 8 times you pay premium insurance. The total lifetime cost difference between constantly buying new and strategically buying used and driving longer is somewhere between $500,000 and $1.2 million, depending on the cars you choose and the length of time you own them. That's not car money. That's retirement money. That's financial independence money. That's generational wealth money. And it's gone because we've been sold a story about what our cars say about us. The psychological manipulation. So why do we do it? Why do intelligent people make a decision that's financially catastrophic and then make the same decision over and over again? Because the auto industry has spent billions of dollars studying human psychology and engineering desire. They're not selling transportation. They're selling identity, status, success, and emotional fulfillment. And those things are worth more to your primitive brain than abstract future wealth. Let's break down the specific psychological tactics they use. Tactic 1, the deserving narrative. You work hard. You've earned this. You deserve a nice car. This message is everywhere in auto marketing, and it's incredibly effective because it's emotionally true. You do work hard. You have earned nice things. The problem is that nice has been redefined to mean new and expensive when it could mean reliable and paid for. The deserving narrative short-circuits your rational analysis. When you're sitting in that showroom, your brain isn't doing math. It's doing identity calculus. What does this car say about me? Does it say I'm successful? Does it say I've made it? If I drive up in this car, what will people think? Tactic 2, the comparison trap. Auto marketing deliberately shows you people who have nicer cars than you. Commercials feature luxury vehicles in aspirational settings. Dealerships park the most expensive models right up front. When your coworker shows up in a new car, you suddenly notice how old yours looks. This exploits a psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. No matter what car you have, you adapt to it. It becomes normal. Then you look around and see what other people have, and your brain recalibrates what normal should be. Suddenly, your perfectly functional car feels inadequate. Tactic 3, the payment illusion. We already talked about this, but it's worth emphasizing. By focusing entirely on monthly payment, dealers exploit your inability to intuitively grasp large numbers. $700 a month for 72 months doesn't feel the same as $50,400, even though it's the same thing. Your brain processes monthly payments as manageable, ongoing expenses, not as a massive transfer of wealth. Tactic 4, the new car smell. Literally. That smell you associate with new cars? It's off-gassing from plastics and adhesives, and manufacturers actually engineer it. Some luxury brands have developed signature scents. They know that smell triggers emotional responses and creates positive associations. You're literally being manipulated by industrial air freshening. Tactic 5, the upgrade cycle. Manufacturers deliberately design model cycles to make older versions feel obsolete. New body styles, new technology features, new color options. They're not innovating because the old design doesn't work. They're innovating to make you feel like your current car is outdated. And here's the most insidious part. They've successfully convinced us that these feelings are rational purchasing criteria. We genuinely believe that the emotional experience of a new car is worth $50,000 more than a used car that provides identical transportation value. The income trap. There's a particularly dangerous rule of thumb floating around personal finance spaces, and it's destroying wealth at an incredible scale. It goes something like this. You can afford a car that costs up to 35 or 40% of your gross annual income. Let's test that. If you make $70,000 a year, this rule says you can afford a car that costs up to $28,000. Sounds reasonable, right? Wrong. Here's why. That $70,000 gross income is actually about $52,000 after taxes. Your $28,000 car financed at 6% over 60 months costs you $541 per month. That's $6,492 per year. Plus insurance, let's say $2,000 per year. Plus gas, let's say $2,000 per year. Plus maintenance, let's say $1,000 per year. Your total annual car cost is $11,492. That's 22% of your after-tax income going to your car. 22% on a single expense category. That's more than most people spend on housing as a percentage of income. Here's the real rule. Your car should cost no more than 10% of your gross annual income if you're buying it outright, or your total annual car expenses should be no more than 10 to 15% of your after-tax income if you're financing. For someone making $70,000, that means buying a $7,000 car with cash, or keeping total annual car expenses under $7,800. That's a very different calculation than a $28,000 finance car. But that conservative calculation doesn't sell cars, so the industry promotes the more aggressive formula. Financial advisors who get paid to move products promote it. Car enthusiast communities promote it. Everyone with an incentive to get you to spend more money promotes it. And the result is that millions of people are driving cars they can't actually afford, living paycheck to paycheck, unable to save or invest, wondering why they can't get ahead despite making decent money. The car is why. The car is the silent wealth killer. The smart car. Strategy? So what do you do? What's the actual strategy for making car decisions that build wealth instead of destroying it? Strategy 1. Buy used, specifically in the 3 to 5-year-old range. This is the sweet spot. The car has already taken the massive depreciation hit. It's still relatively modern, reliable, and covered by remaining warranty in many cases. But you're paying $25,000 to $40,000 less than the person who bought it new. A 3-year-old Honda Accord or Toyota Camry that sold for $35,000 new can be purchased for around $20,000 to $24,000. Same car, same functionality, $15,000 cheaper. That $15,000 invested at 10% for 30 years becomes $262,000. Strategy 2. Pay cash or finance as little as possible for as short as possible. If you must finance, put down at least 20% and never go beyond 48 months. Better yet, save up and buy the car outright. I know that sounds impossible when you're thinking about $48,000 cars. It's very possible when you're thinking about $15,000 cars. Strategy 3. Drive it longer. The wealth-building magic happens when you own the car free and clear. If you buy a 5-year-old car for $15,000 and drive it for 10 years, you have 5 years of no car payment. If your previous payment was $700 per month and you invest that instead, that's $42,000 over 5 years. That's real wealth accumulation. Strategy 4. Break the emotional connection between your car and your identity. Your car is not you. Your car is not a statement about your success. Your car is a tool that moves you from place to place. That's it. The person driving the 15-year-old Honda Civic who has $1 million in their investment account is more successful than the person driving the brand new BMW who has $50,000 in debt. Status and wealth are not the same thing. Strategy 5. Run the full calculation before you buy. Total purchase price, interest, insurance, maintenance, registration, and opportunity cost. Calculate what the money would become if you invested the difference between the expensive option and the cheaper option. Make yourself feel the full financial weight of the decision. Here's a specific example to make this concrete. Let's compare 2 approaches over 30 years. Approach A. Buy a new $48,000 car every 6 years. That's 5 cars over 30 years. Total spent on cars, about $405,000 when you include interest, insurance, and all costs. Approach B. Buy a 5-year-old $15,000 car every 8 years. That's 4 cars over 30 years. Total spent on cars, about $120,000. The difference is $285,000. But it's actually much more than that because of opportunity cost. If you invest that difference, contributing roughly $900 per month for 30 years at 10% returns, you end up with over $2 million. That's the real cost of always buying new, not the $400,000 you spent on cars. The 2 million you didn't build in wealth. Closing. Here's what I want you to understand. The auto industry has successfully normalized financial catastrophe. They've convinced an entire society that spending $50,000 on something that loses half its value in 5 years is a reasonable decision. They've made you believe that your car is a reflection of your worth as a person. They've trapped millions of people in perpetual debt cycles, paying interest on depreciating assets, never building wealth, always feeling like they can't get ahead. And the craziest part? Most people doing this don't even enjoy their cars that much. They just like the moment they drive off the lot. They like the Instagram post. They like the 30 seconds of validation from coworkers. Then they spend 6 years making $700 monthly payments on something they barely notice anymore. You have a choice. You can keep participating in this wealth destruction cycle, or you can opt out. Buy used. Buy cheap. Pay cash. Drive it until the wheels fall off. Invest the difference. Build actual wealth instead of the appearance of wealth. The person who drives a modest used car and retires at 55 is winning. The person who drives a new luxury car and works until 70 is losing. You get to decide which one you want to be. If this video changed how you think about car purchases, subscribe to this channel. I expose the financial traps and psychological manipulation tactics that keep people from building wealth. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And comment below with what kind of car you drive and whether you're planning to change your strategy. Remember, your car is not you. Your car is a tool. Make decisions based on tools, not on identity. Your future self will thank you.